I remember a couple of years ago being in Trenton as people were discussing various laws and punishments that should go with them. And I was sitting with a number of pastors, and we were listening to an organization that was talking about how they could rehabilitate people rather than put them in prison. There were other ways that they could work with people, particularly people who had been involved in drugs or alcoholism, and that they had some options that they wanted to offer. And interesting enough, as I'm sitting with this row of pastors, I kept hearing a little mumble that said like this: "If you do the crime, you pay the time." And I thought, wow, that doesn't seem like a very redemptive approach. Now, I believe that there's crime and there's punishment, and I have no problems with just punishment. But some of the things that we do to people today who have made a grave error in their life is keeping them from having hope for a future. Let me give you some examples of I think that we're doing to folks. First of all, we tag them for life. Now, in the computer age, it's very easy to do that. So we give them a felony charge, and wherever they go, that charge follows. Now, there are some people that we should know are felons. But there are some people who've done charges that get a felony tag attached to them, that the charges were relatively small and simple, but it just happened to fit the code of the place where they were at. And so they go to apply for a job, and the first thing they want, have you ever been in jail? Have you ever been in prison? Have you ever been convicted? And then immediately it seems like their application is not dealt with. It doesn't matter so much what you've done, just that charge has been tagged to your name. I think that's something that has to be reconsidered in our land. Here's something else I think that happens that is hurting people. Sometimes we put oppressive fines on people. Now, we already know they're broken. Take a person on drugs. He's been caught on drugs or in alcohol, and he's going through a process where he has to pay a price. But then even after he's maybe spent some time in jail or prison or something like that, then we throw a tremendous fine on him. But what we do is we destroy hope. There ought to be a way that we can work out a system. As a person is progressing in a certain way, the fine is forgiven. And if they're doing certain things that are right, we should be encouraging them to keep on that path instead of just breaking their backs. And I think often that's just what happens, and they become discouraged. Here's something else I think that is killing people. We send them to meetings all over the place. Now, I happen to believe that a meeting in the beginning could be helpful. But if you have to go to meetings all your life, first of all, you're not going to get victory. Second, here's the other thing. They take a lot of time. I've driven to people to these meetings, and I have to wait sometimes, or I have to go back and pick them up. And I say to them, do you have a job? They say, how can I have a job? I'm going to this meeting, and this meeting. Can you explain that to a boss? I couldn't do that. And so I think that we need to rethink how we do some of these things, because if we don't rethink them, what we're going to do is we're going to have people repeat the crime, because here's what happens. They lose hope. Now, when they lose hope, their heart gets sick. Listen to what the scriptures say. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. That's why one of the things I'm wrestling with is opening up a nonprofit where we can hire some people who have had these kinds of backgrounds, teach them a skill, and we can hire them as a temp kind of agency and give them hope in life, because if we want to see their lives change, we have to provide an opportunity for that change, and punishment alone does not do that. And so I think as a redemptive people, as people who claim to be the people of God, we should find a way to help these folks. And I hope that you will see people in a different light. Just because someone did something 15 years ago does not mean that God can't change their life today. This is Pastor Sal, and I'm just saying.